Welcome to the WealthGenius Podcast. The WealthGenius Podcast. Strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The WealthGenius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The WealthGenius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Thia, you are so special to me. I respect you so much, and I think you're a rock star.
Thank you.
And we tried to do this before, but the sound didn't come out. But I think this is a better space. Don't you think?
I think so. This place is looking really good.
We're leveling up.
It is fancy in here.
Yes. But, first of all, let's start where we are today. And share with me kind of what the portfolio looks like, what you got going on, and what does the company look like?
Wow. The company right now, we have just added some folks to our team, so I'm excited. Mm-hmm. When the interest rates went up, and I kind of talked a bit about this at Expand, there was some contraction. We had a solid team, but they were just used to it being so much easier. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Everybody loves comfy. We love when the ball's rolling. Yeah. But I think when times get tough is where your character, your perseverance, everything that you really believe in should really come to surface, right? And most of the team, they just really lost the drive to do it. Yeah. Right. So now we have folks who are ready and eager, and I'm so excited because now we're, doing deals in Edmonton. We're about to tap into Saskatchewan. We had a deal in Nova Scotia. So we're right back to expansion. And again, that's what I was talking about at Expand.
So cover just kind of touch on that contract to expand.
Yeah.
That concept for you. What does that mean to you?
It means contraction. I know for a lot of people, they look at that as like failure. It's a step back. But if you've ever experienced any form of growth, you probably had some contraction that took place as well. So in my mind, contraction is an opportunity to step back, see the full picture, and then there's room for improvement. Find out where that improvement is, or what can you do, or how can you implement some new process to expand again. And that's what we did for the business, because without that happening, the team losing the motivation, I wouldn't have realized that it probably wasn't as scalable and for a long term anyway, right? Because it was really dependent on their efforts. So that happened, and it was a perfect opportunity to contract, realize that we need to pivot, let's implement some new processes and systems. And now we're in, a few different markets that we weren't in before. We were solely in Ontario. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and so the business is growing, and so primarily, so there's someone out there, they might not understand what you're doing. I mean, you're the wholesale queen.
That's right.
Please, bow down.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So first of all, what is wholesaling?
Yes. So wholesaling, you are essentially finding off-market property. So these things are not listed on realtor.ca, not on the MLS. And we are negotiating these price points or the purchase price with the seller directly. No middleman at all. Once the seller agrees to a particular purchase price, we draft the agreement and we are selling this contract. We are not closing at all. We are just selling the contract to another investor for 20, 30, 40, 50K, and we are exiting left. So that in a nutshell is what a wholesale deal is.
Yeah, so you're signing a deal, and so this is what your company does.
This is it.
And when you were talking about restructuring the team, you're talking about, the old team during the good times, the good old times.
The good old days.
It was a lot easier, and then it just got tough, and then you realized that you had to you had to do some corporate restructuring.
That's right.
So what is so that's the wholesale part, and we'll get to that in a moment. Portfolio wise.
Yeah, portfolio wise, we just sold a 39 unit building. And thank you, in Saskatoon. Mm-hmm. So now, of course, I'm looking for the next deal. But in that portfolio, I still have 2 4 units 3 4-units, a 5-unit, and a single family. I love when you just forget how many you own. That's crazy. But that's what the portfolio is looking like today. And as I said, looking especially this year.
What are your goals?
This year? Oh my goodness. My goals are to expand our wholesaling business into the US as well. And I want to be as aggressive in adding more doors. I'm really focused on the long-term play, that generational wealth. So for me, my goals are another 100 doors this year is kind of where I'm at. I'm saying it and I'm like, oh my gosh, but at least another 100 doors this year. And again, expanding into the US and adding some more people to our team.
Nice. Is it difficult? What kind of work had to go into expanding into the US?
Well, we aren't in there quite yet, but really it's more so having the boots on the ground, right? So I've already started doing some research as far as the tools that our US deal maker, Thomas, was talking about. So going to implement some of those applications. But it's mainly just the boots on the ground, which, I mean, a community like WealthGenius, we have boots on the ground everywhere. Yeah. So it's just a matter of connecting with those folks.
One thing that I love about wholesaling is if you are going to be an active investor, you need to create deal flow.
Yes.
Right? And some deals you're going to put under contract. Some deals don't go through the due diligence, or maybe you find something else that suits you better than, whatever it is that you were looking at. And so, in my opinion, everyone should at least have a wholesale division in their business.
I agree.
To be able to offload the deals that you're not gonna pursue, because those could be good deals for somebody else. Maybe they're not deals for you. And this is why we started working together. Yes. And we built out an entire course, on how to help people get into the game. Yeah. So someone like me that already has a portfolio, maybe I want to build out a division where, maybe I'm not a full wholesaler, but it's a whole division that is just like looking for deals, and I'm going to keep the ones that I want to do.
Exactly.
Right? And it's a good way to create deal flow for yourself. At the same time, it's a perfect strategy for someone to start, right?
It is, yeah.
Especially where we are right now, where with the prices of real estate, it could be daunting or unattainable for a lot of young people or someone getting into the game. And so when they come to your course, or we have events, boot camps or whatnot, what can they expect to learn?
They can expect to learn exactly what to look for, first of all, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll find nothing. Yeah. So I'm going to teach them exactly what they should be looking for, where they should be looking, the importance of having a power team and how to leverage that exactly. So I'm giving them in the 2 days or 3 days, depending on, what workshop they're at, but they should leave there being able to at least take some action. But if you really want to scale your business and deep dive, then it goes without saying you need to invest in yourself. Take the course. I will be sure to get you from point A all the way to Z. Yeah. I had a student just a couple of days ago. She posted, she got this amazing deal under contract in Sudbury.
Wow.
And it's like, $200K for 4 units, VTB. So we negotiated the whole thing. I'm so proud of her. And I don't think she would have been able to do that had she had not invested in herself. So kudos to her.
Yeah. And it says a lot about a person when they do invest in themselves. It's like they're just that much more invested in the process, and they'll take the actions required in order to be successful.
Yeah.
So I want to go back. I want to go way back.
Way back. Okay, let's go.
So, now, you're a real estate superstar, but, did you always want to do real estate, or how in the world did we end up here?
Honestly,
we're here. This is where you are right now.
And
stages, boot camps, workshops, courses, business, companies, expansion. Like, how did we get here?
I stumbled into real estate as far or as long as I can remember. I wanted to be in the WNBA. That was my dream. Sheryl Swoops. I love Damian Stoudemire, if you remember him on the Raptors. Yeah. That was my dream.
And you must have had a passion for it, because
you're
talking about Stoudemire. During those days, WNBA, there was nobody making money there.
No.
So you did it. You wanted to do it for passion.
I wanted to do something that I loved. And that has been my mindset ever since I was in elementary school. I was just like, I can't imagine working every single day. And if I have to, I want to love this thing. So I honestly thought that's where I was going to end up. I was like one of the top 50 players in the GTA in my heyday. So I was like, I'm definitely making it. But life was lifing. That didn't really pan out, but I was still determined to be successful. Like I wanted to still find something that I enjoyed. I tried a bunch of different business ventures.
Yeah.
None of them stuck. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this vehicle that is going to take me out of this 9-to-5 rat race that I can't stand? And then, I thought I wanted to be a realtor because I started, someone put a bug in my ear about real estate. And I was like, oh, I think
Did you always look at real estate, or did you have like...
No, where I came from, it was unattainable. It wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
I thought you needed to have millions and millions. And you definitely can't come from, this low income housing that I grew up in. So it just, real estate and me, it didn't make sense. And then, I went on Facebook one day. I think cookies got me. When you start looking at things, they just start putting all the things right in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And I was like, what is this about wholesaling? It was like a webinar. I was like, I'm gonna check it out. They said you don't need any money. I'm like, great, I don't have much. Like, I have time though.
You don't need any money. Perfect. Sign me up.
Sign me up. Exactly. So I still invested my time, right? And I went to the little webinar they had, and I felt inspired. So they had another one. This time you had to pay. And I was like, I don't care, because again, I'm going to invest in myself. I think I can do this. And I attended, and I was like, oh my gosh, I found my thing. I was telling everyone, I found my thing. I'm going to do it. So then I registered Velinor Properties literally the day or two afterwards. And I started looking for deals. But the difference is there wasn't a wealth genius. There was no hand holding. They said, watch this video and then go and do all the things. But between the videos and then all the things you have to do, there's huge liability in there because this is a legally binding agreement that can really land you in some trouble.
You don't want to play real estate.
No, definitely not. I definitely didn't want to play. So I plugged away for the next 6 months. And it was tough. I'm tying up things that aren't really deals. People are like, are you sure this is a deal? Are you sure this is $50,000 worth of rent? I'm like, I don't know. That's what the realtor said, So it was a lot of trial and error. Yeah. And I remember I found a seller off of Kijiji, and he had 5 properties, some singles, some multis. And I brought it to who was the GOAT at this time. And I'm like, okay, we're going to sell these deals for sure. I've counted and spent this money in my mind already.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
You're already planning
sold.
your vacation?
For sure. Because of course they're going to sell. Yeah. And not one of the 5 deals sold.
Wow.
So I think for most people, and at this point, that was October, and I started in June. So all of those months, now I have something so promising, and then it doesn't work out. I think for many people, they would have given up at that point.
Oh, 100%. And you just said it right here.
Yeah.
Your own people that were working for you, the second it gets tough, people are bail.
They bailed.
Yeah. Like anybody else would have bailed.
Yeah. And I was still like, no, this is my thing. I'm going to continue to plug away at it. And I then found another deal in Sudbury in December. And I was like, at this time, Sudbury wasn't as sexy as it is now. Let me tell you.
It's still not sexy.
It's a bit sexy. It's a little sexy. And, I'm like, who's going to want this deal? But I already knew, just stick to the numbers, focus on the numbers. It's data or drama. Stick to the data. And I was like, it surpasses the 1% rule. Property looks great. And, I was hosting a walkthrough. And there was like 5 people from Toronto coming to see this property. So I was like, oh my God, I think I actually have something here. And I showed the property on my way home, white knuckle driving. Every time I go to Sudbury, I'm like fighting for my life to get back because it's like snowstorms. And someone calls, like, we're going to take it. And it was that moment, even though you know what's possible, it's different when it happens for you. So I was like, oh my God, I just made $10,000. And that was in the span of 2 weeks from the time I found the deal till I sold it. And I was convinced after that. So then January rolls around of 2021, And I do 6 deals in that month. I'm like, I've just made more than my salary at work. I quit immediately and I have not looked back.
What was that like? First of all, did you have a resignation letter?
If to whom it may concern is a resignation letter, then yes. Yes, I did.
So you just sent an email, or how was it?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
I sent an email.
So give us the visual. You're sitting there in front of your computer. You send this email.
Yes.
Did you write it first, and you're like, how did it, or you just like, bye, send?
Pretty much, because the thing is, I was already off of work for some time. My mom passed away February of 2020. So I'd taken some time off work. I tried to go back, mentally wasn't ready, took some time off again. They were having me jump through all kinds of hoops just to get access to like a short-term disability type of thing. So my clock was like
grievance or...
Well, I had the grievance, but then just like mentally, I wasn't prepared to go back to work. So, there's some depression there. There was so many things because...
I can only imagine losing your mom.
My mom, that's my mom and my dad. And I was literally her caregiver. So I even had caregiver burnout, My mom would do like long stints in the hospital. Wow. And in the middle of the night, like when she'd come home, she's weak. I don't know if you've had anybody in the hospital for a long time, but their body just gets weak. They lose muscle mass. Yeah. So she would wake me up in the middle of the night just to like roll her to a side. So I was just completely burnt out. Wow. And I was, again, my mom's primary caregiver. So not being able to return to work and just seeing how they treat you. So I'm working for a mental health and addiction hospital. And I'm telling them that I'm having some mental health stuff going on based on what's happened with my mom. And I'm jumping through hoops, going to all these different doctor's appointments. We got to fill out this form, that form. And I'm like, this is more stressful. You're only adding to everything that's happening with me. They ultimately stopped paying me. And it was, again, in that moment when I was like, I can't go back to this job. I can't work any job because everything I've seen in my mom's life, she was a hardworking lady. Mm-hmm. But the minute they deem you unvaluable, so she was on like ODSP because she hurt her back at work, they will just, they don't want to pay you. She had to fight to get on ODSP for like 4 years. It's a nightmare. And I just knew that it can't be me. That cannot be me. I know my mom's a hard worker. And again, if you cannot, provide value in the way that they view it, then you're pretty much chopped liver. And that's what my mom's saying. She's like, I'm chopped liver. Yeah. So, when it was time to sit in front of that computer and write this resignation letter, it was pretty easy. I was just like, to whom it may concern, I will not be returning. Consider this my formal notice. And that was it. Peace. So whatever they did with that, I was like, I'm good. And God has been great so far.
What do you do immediately? Like, what do you do right after you send this?
I think I did a little dance in my living room. I was like, ooh, I can't believe I just quit. I'm beside myself at this moment. Yeah. I knew that, it was a huge leap of faith. Like, yes, I made more than my annual salary, but then what about next year? But I had already seen the light. I knew what was possible. So there also comes this thing with confidence. Right? It's when you're unsure, you're a little bit scared. But when you know what you've already accomplished, like 6 deals in 1 month is crazy, especially at that time. For me, I did my little dance and I was like, I can't believe I've just left the rat race. I've been chasing that moment for at least 15 years at that point, and I was 31 when I left my job.
So what was the moment that you thought to yourself, like, okay, like, I'm good at this. Like, not only am I good at it, like, I have arrived.
Yeah, I think it was by the time March rolled around in that year and I did about 14 deals. And I met with someone.
Woo! Yeah.
I met with someone and she was like, you did how many deals? She's like, so who's your team? I'm like, my team? I'm like, it's me. She's like, you by yourself? She's like, well, how much money are you spending on marketing? I'm like, marketing? She's like, no marketing. I'm like, this was straight grind, hustle, scraping the heck out of Kijiji every single day, all day.
Wow.
And she just couldn't believe it. And she's like, no, you're killing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Maybe I am. And it was at that moment, I was like, okay, I need a team because it is a lot and I can't scale by myself. And then I started bringing people into the team and we just started killing it, like 100 plus K a month, every single month for several months. It was incredible. And to be able to have other people leave their job because we're doing so well is also, one of those things that were on my whiteboard, help 5 people leave the rat race. So being able to do that it just meant everything to me, even beyond the money.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about real estate?
My favorite thing about real estate is that anybody can do it. I think that's my favorite part. It's not necessarily about, how well you did in school or where you grew up. It's be in the right rooms, invest in yourself, and be dedicated to the process. Be a sponge, and anybody can do it. I think that's my favorite part.
What was the toughest part?
Oh my goodness. There's so many tough parts. There's the tenants. There's, the deals that don't get assigned sometimes, and you having to go back to your team and have these conversations with them, because some people on the team, they get emotionally tied to the deals. So real estate can be tough. It is not for the weak. You need to really want this thing, and it needs to be greater than money. You need to really want time freedom. Yeah. That's what it has created and provided for me.
And so what drives, what drives you? If you have is it a few deals fall apart all at once, or is it once in a while? How does it work in the wholesale world?
I mean, you're going to mutually release more deals than you're going to assign. So you have to already enter the game knowing this. Yeah. So for me, a deal doesn't work, I don't even think about it. I'm like, oh, okay, next. What do we have next? And that needs to be the mindset.
Yeah.
Real estate in general is a numbers game. They don't always work. Sellers will come back, and the money is in the follow-up. Mm-hmm. So it's all of these things that
eventually they're going to want to sell.
Yeah, they come back. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, we had you in our system here, pulling it up in the CRM from 2 years ago. Yeah. So yeah.
Beautiful. I know that there's a lot of stories of all the beautiful things that people do in real estate, but people don't really talk about, that sometimes deals don't happen. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes you do lose money, and I was talking to someone the other day. They're like, oh, I think I'm doing this wrong. I'm losing money here. And that's part of the game. That's the cost of doing business.
It is.
There's someone right now breaking a window at a Walmart,
right.
It's a cost of doing business. And so I know that you're strong enough, and you keep going, you keep going.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that people need to think about in terms of getting their mindset prepared? You said it's not for the faint of heart, not for the weak.
Not at all.
But, someone's getting into it. How do they mentally prepare for success and the failures, the ups and downs, basically?
The ups and downs. I mean, they just have to understand that with anything, there's going to be some wins and there's going to be some lessons. I don't even think they're losses. The L's are really lessons.
Yes.
Right? And, I got into a deal where we did a campaign out in Cornwall. We're about to do a flip on it. A partner, someone on my team, they were working with someone who had a ton of capital, just kind of parked. So I didn't even vet this person. I was like, oh, he has the money. Okay, great. Let's do it. And so we went ahead and did the renos. We ran into some issues. He no longer wanted to, him being the capital partner, no longer wanted to, put any more money into this deal. I came out of my pocket and did so. I was covering all the carrying costs. And when the property didn't sell because the interest rates went up, I was like, let's pivot. So I jump on a call with him. I'm ironing out some of our options. And the first thing he says is, are you done your sales pitch now?
Wow.
My jaw was on the ground. I was like, what? I'm trying to find solutions for us. And he's just not having it. He didn't want to hear it. Long story short, we sold for much less. I think we could have definitely got it for more. I lost $20,000. He got every single dollar he put into the deal, which he should. I'd rather lose money than have a partner. But it's exactly that. You just have to expect the unexpected and be willing to push through all the adversity, because there's going to be a lot. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
So now you're running a business. Most people don't realize that real estate is a business. Mm-hmm. And what are some of the biggest learnings that you've had over this time, organizing people, managing people? What are some of the learnings there?
Not all personalities are going to get along. So understanding, especially if you have management team like we have, who's going to really be not hand-holding, but having more conversations with certain members on the team, because not everybody, again, gets along. I learned that bookkeeping and accounting is very, very important. It was one of those things when I first started that I didn't pay much attention to, you know. And for wholesaling, there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to the bank account. You have deposits, you're paying your team, deposits are coming back, wholesale fees are coming in. There's so much happening. And when I first started, that wasn't something I paid attention to. So it was a nightmare to do taxes.
Wow.
And I just encourage people right in the beginning, get a good bookkeeper, find yourself an accountant, and keep yourself on track.
That's probably the fourth time we've mentioned this on this show.
Oh, really?
You know, people, just the bookkeeping was the biggest hurdle. Just the bookkeeping, the accounting. And so this is something that a lot of people, have to overcome. You know, it's the paper, the death of us all. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for sharing. And I know that people will get a lot of value. We have a lot of offerings. We have we have a course. We have boot camps. We have everything.
Absolutely.
And all that information is going to be down below, and they're going to be able to get a hold of you and everything like that. But before we go, I want to know what you live by. You know, what inspires you?
What inspires me is there's this quote, and I might butcher it a bit, but essentially the premise is, you know, you should always go after your dreams, or someone else is going to hire you to build theirs. And that really resonates with me because, I mean, it's just plain and simple the facts, right? Yeah. You're going to be working for someone. And if you're as motivated and as driven as I am, you know that a 9 to 5, like walking into the same doors every single day for 45 years, sitting at a desk.
Sounds like death.
It is death. I said it on a podcast once. I was like, I literally feel like that's death for me. Like, it's the same. That's what it's equivalent to. So if you want to live, then you need to find what you're passionate about and chase those dreams and don't stop. And I find that the difference between people failing and others succeeding is the ones who succeed, they don't stop. They just keep going.
That's it.
They keep going. That's literally the only difference.
Yeah.
You know, so keep going. If you're listening to this, keep going. Whatever that thing is, if it's wholesaling, reach out. Let me help you get there. If it's building a portfolio, WealthGenius will help you, but just keep going. One foot in front of the other. Some days are going to be harder than others. Trust me. I know. But there is, the gold on the other side of that rainbow. So you just have to keep plugging away.
Love it, love it, love it. Thia, the Wholesale Queen.
Yes.
Let's get it.
2024.
2024.
I'm so excited.
We're going to inspire so many people together. We're going to help so many people. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for coming by.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. We'll see you at the top. Woo!
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast. If you have a question or comment about something you heard today, reach out to the Godfather via social media or email him anytime. All that information is in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Wealth Genius Podcast. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Until next time, see you at the top.